Hello everybody. You join me on a very windy, cold and lonesome road on the way to find a giant cave in the Peak District. Specifically, this cave is known as Thor's Cave. Why it's called Thor's Cave, nobody knows. It could be a mispronunciation of the Anglo-Saxon word for hill or something like that. But it's a cool spot and it's a place where I've wanted to come for a long time. But I've never really had the balls to come up and do it on my own. And I thought, fuck it, today's the day. There is a big storm in today as well. So it is ridiculously windy up here. So it's probably not the best time to come, but who gives a shit? You only live once, eh? And my God, it is a pretty day. Pretty day? It's pretty. It's the word of the day today. Last video, it was terrifying. That was the word. This one, it's pretty. I am very much in the sticks now. And I've just realised I've got no connection to Wi-Fi or anything. And it really freaks me out. I can feel the anxiety sitting in. I can feel it in my stomach. I can feel it in my chest. I get really nervous. I can feel it in my hands, like butterflies. I can feel the blood draining from my fingers. It's that fight or flight kicking in. And it's so funny because it's literally because I've got no network connection. So my immediate thought is, what if something goes wrong? Who am I going to call? Who's going to save me? And that thought immediately goes to, it's going to be the absolute worst of the worst. You're going to have a heart attack, you're going to pass out, you're going to have a coma, something bad is going to happen and nobody's going to be there to save you. And that's, bang, immediately where my mind goes to. Immediately. But we're going to continue going down this road, which is more of a footpath if I'm honest with you. We'll see. Okay, we've arrived. I have got no phone connection whatsoever. As windy as anything. I'm going to say it is pretty. So this is another one of those. Expose myself to something I'm scared of doing. But we'll just take it up a notch. I've gone further afield than I have in a long time. Like I say, I'm about an hour away from home. And nobody knows I'm here. And on top of that, I've got no phone service. So those three things terrify me because immediately my safety net is gone. If something goes wrong, it'll be completely up to me to resolve the issue. Now, the part of me, the OCD anxiety part of me, is screaming right now. Go and find some mobile phone reception, text your mum and dad, let them know where you are. Because if you have a heart attack and you don't come home, they'll know where you are and they'll be able to send out rescue or come and pick you up. That is a childish part of my brain. That's left over from when I was a kid, from when I had separation anxiety from my mum and dad. I don't need to listen to that part of my brain anymore. And this is very much an experiment in testing how strong my will is in the ability to resist the urge to go and find that safety net. I'm going to hike from here. I'm going to take a look at the river, which is just behind the van here. And this is definitely a van camping location for summer. So we'll check that out and then we'll commence our hike. It's about 2 miles up there and then up a big hill somewhere. Not entirely sure, haven't really researched it all that much on purpose, but we'll figure it out. Bananas for food. Severely underripe bananas, which I'm not very excited about, but it'll do. I have no idea which way I'm going. I'm going to assume it's this way. So we're going to walk straight and we'll follow the river, which is just here. See, the nerves are setting in again. I can feel. It's funny how you get hyper aware of all of your bodily functions. Like my shoulders, I can feel a pain in my shoulder. Realistically, it's probably from holding the camera up, but my mind immediately jumps to, oh, you're gonna have a heart attack. You should probably turn around, make sure that you're nice and safe. But it's not what I want. Wow. There's no one here. I've just noticed there's a big cave there. I don't think it's Thor's cave, but it might be. In which case I've gone the opposite direction, but I'm pretty sure there's another one this way. We'll find out. Hiking for me has been a massive part of my life growing up. My grandmother was a ranger for the Peak District National Park. And when we were kids, she used to take me, my sister and my cousin up into the Peak District. And we used to go den building and hiking. And, proper wild child kind of growing up. And then I lost a lot of that feeling as I was growing up when I sort of came across agoraphobia, and that kind of struck me. Took a lot of the confidence away from being able to come out to places like this and be self-sufficient. So it's nice to kind of put myself back out here and try and regain a little bit of that confidence. Just gradually increase how much pressure I allow to build while enjoying the scenery. I really hope the other cave is this way. One thing that I noticed that I tend to do when I get nervous like this is I'll start to become hyper aware of my breathing, and then really have to fixate and focus on when to inhale and when to exhale. Sorry about the wind. Something as natural as breathing, you're very much labouring, and then you're worried as to why that is. You're like, oh, is that because there's a problem? Is that because it's a problem with the heart? It's very, very strange. Well, another thing that I've noticed is that regardless of what the issue is, you end up finding a new issue to replace it. So like I say, when I was younger, it used to be sickness. Sickness was my idea of health. I had no idea how to deal with the idea of vomiting and sickness. Eventually got over that fear of vomiting for the most part. I still worry about it a lot, but I'm a lot better at dealing with it than I used to be. And now it's my heart. Always changes. Forever changing. But one thing that I've learned, instead of sitting there, thinking why me, getting upset and pissed off at the world for the fact that I've got these issues, if you look at it through the lens of a student and think about, how can this teach me? What can I learn from this? You then learn to deal with those issues in a much better way going forward. And that builds your self-confidence, it builds your self-esteem. You become more confident in your ability to deal with those issues. One of the main reasons as to why I'm so sort of on it with how I, want to deal with overcoming agoraphobia and phobias and fear and anxiety and mental health issues as a whole is because one day I know, if I do have kids, they will have the exact same issues, if not worse. Growing up in this day and age is hard enough, but 20, 30 years time, growing up in that world, couldn't imagine it. For me, going through the trials and tribulations of dealing with mental health issues gives me a base to learn how to deal with them, and then how to help people that I care about to move forward past those issues. When you're really struggling, it looks like there's no way out. You're like in the bottom of a deep hole with no way up, and you just think, it's very easy to sit there and just think, fuck, this is life now. And I can see why people get depressed and suicidal and nihilistic about that. It's horrible. But you find little crags and cracks, and you can slowly path a way up and out of that hole. And then when you've done that, or you've done that to some extent, for me, I find it's a duty to help to pull other people out from that hole as well. Because I know it's not a nice place to be. Which is another reason as to why I've started filming these existential crises. I think we are almost there though. Pan the camera away from my ugly gob. We're getting more and more cliff faces. Oh, there it is, you can see it. So now that I've found the place, I can start to feel that fear of passing out coming in. I've noticed it tends to be whenever I'm just about to do the thing which I've come to do, I have the peak level of anxiety. And And I think for me that's a mix-up of fear and excitement, because how could you not be excited to go into that? Reading that little plaque, it was talking about the fact that the cave itself was the site of a Bronze Age burial, which must mean that the site had some sort of deep religious or spiritual meaning behind it, which you can really feel in the woodlands around here. It's like, it's so mystical and ancient. You can imagine how this place was so powerful in the hearts and minds of the people that lived in this area, 10, 15,000 years ago. And all the way up to modern day, I suppose. One thing that I've learned through this experience of dealing with agoraphobia and anxiety is that if you believe that you're a deer in headlights, then you'll be prey to it for the rest of your life. If you see it as a challenge and a bit of a game, test it and see where your limits are, and just teach yourself to enjoy the experience of just pushing yourself ever so slightly out of your comfort zone. This fear becomes a game, and then you enjoy the act of overcoming it, rather than sitting around and waiting all day for that bad thing to happen. You learn to just progress through and see it as a mental challenge, which is exactly what it is, if you decide that that's what it is. Takeaway from any issue you've got related to this is that, and I mean this to every single person who watches this, I know that I don't know you personally, but it is true. You are tougher than you think you are. You genuinely are. The human body and the mind is so resilient. You can overcome the worst things. As long as you've got a good outlook, you're not going to let anything beat you, and you just remember that you're stronger than you give yourself credit for. You'll always be okay. I've been repeating that in my head quite a lot when I've been struggling, and it's been very helpful. This has got to be one of the most enchanting places I've ever been. The takeaway for me with stuff like this is that often the best things are on the other side of fear. You can be petrified to come to places like this, and it can drive you away. But if you come and you actually put yourself through the difficulty and you push through, you're rewarded with this, which is absolutely fucking amazing. One thing that I've kind of discovered about the nature of anxiety and fear is often the thing that you're worrying about isn't necessarily the actual issue, it's just a symptom of a much deeper rooted issue. So, for me, the symptom is a fear of heart failure, a fear of a heart attack, a fear of a coma, a fear of death, a fear of sickness. Well, really, the issue is I have very low self-esteem and very low self-confidence when it comes to being able to take care of myself. If I resolve those deeper lying issues, then, in theory, those symptomatic issues that you face, the symptomatic anxiety, those issues become a lot easier to face when you know that your baseline issues are covered. This is loosely related to something which I've talked about many times to my friends, but never on it, which is something called the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs is essentially a pyramid, is a structure for you to prioritise different issues within your life. The best way I can explain it is, you'll have had times in your life where you've had so many different things going wrong at once. You've got girlfriend problems, you've got, you're ill, you're not sleeping correctly, you've got anxiety, you're not eating right, you want to go to the gym and you're not going to the gym, you're struggling at work. All of these issues that pile up above you and you think, fuck me, I don't know where to start with that. What the Maslow's hierarchy of needs does is it allows you to sort of structure those issues and think about, okay, at the very bottom of the pyramid is your physiological needs. So it's, what do I need to take care of? Eating, sleeping, health, life, all of that stuff. Basically means you can't worry about resolving your existential issues of life if you can't even sleep, or you're not eating right, or you're not drinking enough water. So first things first, you take care of those. Make sure you're eating, make sure that you're drinking, make sure that you're healthy, make sure that you're sleeping right. And then suddenly all of those things which are higher up the hierarchy, the self-fulfillment problems that you want to tackle, become substantially easier. For me, overcoming the fear of not being able to handle myself and being scared of the issues that might arise from coming and doing something like this. Coming out to actually face that fear and prove to myself that I am capable of taking care of myself in these situations makes the challenges of going and doing something like going away or being away from my family or handling issues when they pop up a lot easier, because I know that I can do it because I'm here, I think it's time to do some exploring if I can get down from this incredibly dodgy hillside. Okay, we're sliding down. Into the darkness. What an amazing place. Annoyingly, my phone is about to die, so I'm going to make my way down this hill. We'll get back to the van and chill out for a bit. Okay. There aren't many better places to sit down and have a brew, are there? That is fucking mental. The last little bit that I wanted to talk about, which I've been thinking about for a while, is the difference between how something seems in your head compared to how it is in real life. So, for example, today I knew that I wanted to get out. I knew I wanted to come up and do something to challenge myself, and this was kind of what I wanted to do. However, in my head, I thought this would be a real chore. I'd drive here really nervous, I'd have to lock the van, and then I'd have to leave it, and I wouldn't know if I'd be able to find it again, and then I'd have to hike an unknown distance to find this unknown place which I've never been before, and I don't know whether things are going to go wrong, I don't know whether I'm going to be hungry, I don't know whether I'm going to feel faint, I don't know whether I'm going to, feel anxious, and because you don't know whether that's going to be the case, your brain automatically assumes that it's going to be the absolute worst case scenario. And from experience, it never is. And this is one of those experiences. In my head, today was going to be a chore, a very difficult thing to do, and I've loved every second of it. I've had the most blissful day. It's been so fun. I've enjoyed the challenge, and I've ended up in a place like this, sat down having a brew, and all those things that I was worrying about initially on the way here never happened. There was never a point today where I felt nervous at all. When I was actually doing the thing, I was enjoying it. I was enjoying the fact that I was pushing myself out of my comfort zone. But if you listen to that part of your brain which tells you things are going to go wrong all the time, and you'll never get to experience those things and prove yourself wrong. And that's when it gets dangerous. That's when you hide away from everything. That's when you hide away from the world and you don't let experiences happen to you. And the really sad part of that, apart from the fact that it's a struggle to do anything, is that you miss out on life, like dealing with the anxiety and the fear and the uncertainty of everyday life, especially when you're going outdoors and you're doing dangerous things. But that is the adventure of life. You don't know whether things are going to go well. You don't know whether things are going to go bad. But if you try and embrace the fact that you're not searching for things to go well all the time, you're looking for something to overcome, then you've got a story to tell. That's the adventure of your life. And it would be boring. You'd be bored if it was perfect all the time. You wouldn't do anything. That's why people climb mountains. That's why people do difficult things, because it's hard to do. It's something to overcome. And I feel like if you treat agoraphobia and anxiety itself as kind of one of those things to overcome and to beat and to, you know, to grow over, that becomes one of those adventures. It becomes the adventure of your life. And then you don't only strive for happiness anymore. You look for those difficult times, but not through the eyes of a deer in headlights. You look at them through the eyes of somebody who wants to overcome something difficult, and almost like a game. And if you can train your brain to do that all the time, then you become invincible. Nothing is an issue anymore, because you know that it's just something that you can overcome because you've done it so many times in the past. And then that's something that you can pass on to your children and your friends and your family that are suffering with these same thoughts. It's a very fulfilling experience. I need a cup of tea. This is my 7th attempt at trying to end this video. I can't do it without being really awkward. I'm going to sit and finish this cup of tea now with the beauty in the background. The takeaway from this is you are tougher than you think you are. Tougher than you give yourself credit for as well. Actively try and push yourself out of your comfort zone. But do it a little bit at a time. Don't overface yourself. And track it, like make notes. You know, show your progression, and then you can prove to yourself that you're capable of doing things that you currently don't think you can. That's how you grow. It's the same with the gym. Increase the weight slightly every week, and within a year, you look like me. God help you. Right. Go outside. Get off your phone. It's poisonous. Come and have a brew in a place like this.